the SM Media Podcast Network. Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of The Ref's View right here on SM Media. I'm Scotland Pike. It's a pleasure as always to be your host, and I'm delighted to have our all-star panel with us as always. The referees show is a wee bit of an escape for me this week because it's not as symbolic as the Rangers managerial chase, but we'll get into some, I think, a good weekend for referees. First of all, it's a pleasure to welcome Des Roach.
Aye, well, when you say the star referees, I don't know who they are because they certainly don't mean him, that's for sure.
I think it's a bit more positive than it was maybe last week, and it's always a pleasure to welcome Steve Conroy.
Pleasure. I'm the same as Des. I looked behind me when you talked about star refs.
Mm-hmm.
All-star panel, we'll give our opinions, and we're going to do so here. I think, obviously, based on last week, we got a lot of support and encouragement for our review of Wally Vision. Kind of went the way you'd expect, to be honest. I think a lot of people shared their opinions on it, and I'm quite glad that we've been able to get them out, and no doubt we will again in the future. We had 6 games this weekend. Pretty much all of them had a kind of refereeing incident, but Des, I would say it was a bit more of a calmer week. We'll get into the games individually, but I think overall, I don't think there was anything ridiculous.
Nothing overly contentious, and I know it's very easy to criticise, and sometimes it's extremely easy to criticise when we see some of the decisions that are made. But this week was a good week in whole, so I've got to give the guys praise when they deserve it. I think it's been a positive weekend, maybe like one or two.
Stephen, I think that's important. Obviously, we're more than happy to come on here and critique when things go wrong. And again, there are a couple of incidents here that I think we will probably get a bit of debate on. But I think overall, I mean, there's certainly been worse weeks. There's been weeks I've been coming on here absolutely ready to erupt at some of the decisions, and I don't really have that view this week.
No, as you use the word, it's debate. Everything that we'll talk about is debatable. Influence of VAR, lack of influence in VAR, but the incidents themselves, it's matters of opinion, and that's why we love football. So no, I think this weekend, the guys covered themselves a wee bit more of glory than they have in the past few weeks.
Yep, and let's get into the 6 games. We'll start with Dundee 2, Celtic 0. Again, massive result. Dundee's first victory against Celtic, I think, since 1978. Is that right? 1979 or something like that? What were you doing? What were you doing 37 years ago?
At my work.
I don't know what I was doing 37 years ago.
I was a thought in the horizon. But yeah, massive result for Dundee. Obviously highlights some issues at Celtic that are kind of well documented, but only one real incident. Again, Matthew McDermott was a referee, and Des, we've been on here quite a lot criticising Matthew, and just going by the kind of theme of what we've had in the past, I think we probably will again. I thought, though, to be fair, the only wee criticism of Matthew I had was, again, in a kind of live game, he's a bit pernickety, but he's not the only one that we'll talk about this weekend.
No.
There's one real incident, but I think, again, it just feels sometimes he maybe tries to assert his authority too much when he doesn't need to.
I think when everyone's seen it, we've seen the Dundee player with his hand in the air, and because of the way the balls come off him, it looks like it's possibly come off his hands. Matthew did jump in quite quick, but he's given what he's seen. But therefore, the VAR is doing what it's there to do.
I thought initially it was a penalty. I thought when I saw it in live time, I thought it was a penalty.
Hands up, I thought it was a penalty.
Yeah, I think the only bit that I can not criticise, the only bit that I would say could have been handled better was that it took 2 minutes and 20 to review the incident. It was Gavin Duncan who was the VAR official. As soon as you seen it slowing down, it was clearly off the Dundee boy's face. So that was the only bit. He's jumped in quick, but VAR has done the correct thing. It could have been done a little bit speedier.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, obviously, we'll talk about the Hatate penalty claim. It's 2-0 to Dundee at this point. It was given by Matthew and then overturned on VR. Clearly hits his face. one of those where, like, again, when, as we say, I saw it in real time. I thought that's at his hand, and then when you saw it slowed down, you saw it from I think it was maybe the fourth camera angle, which was right in front of it, because a few of the other camera angles were kind of side on, and it still looked as if it hit his hand. That's what VAR is good for, is doing the different camera angles. You see it in a different direction. When you see it behind the incident, you have to analyse that ball hits his face. It doesn't even touch his hand. I think it's because it's a hand up, you automatically, and I think Matthews made that assumption, it's hit his hand because his hand are so far. If it does hit his hand there, it is a penalty. There's no debate on that. But it hits his face.
Yep, but and one of the things we keep saying is we've all done it, and it'll happen again.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I saw a penalty, and Matthew, when he saw a penalty. He saw it hitting his hand, and that's not debatable. You can criticise because it was wrong, but in days of old, nobody would have given that a second thought. That would have hit his hand. So I'm not criticising him for that. And thank God, it's shown that we know how to work VAR. Yeah, we could have done it a minute quicker, but that's what it's there for. It's there to correct obvious errors, and we've just shown it in this one. Obvious errors don't mean anything incompetence or cheating or anything like that. That, I think, everybody, when they first saw that, everybody shouted for a penalty. So no criticism of Matthew, and the VAR sorted it out. That's how it should work.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good use of VAR. I was actually watching a couple of English games during the weekend, and I kind of thought we've actually done that pretty well, because as you say, it does take a bit long, but England, you're looking at 5-6 minutes at times for this, and it's handball's a difficult one, but with this one, I think it is clear and obvious that the ball hit his face, and Dundee well deserving of the result.
100%. They were by far the better team.
Yeah. Worried about Celtic, Steve?
Always. I'm a pessimist.
It's not good, is it? No,
something has happened, and again, half of our listenership don't believe what team I support, but this harks back to and maybe not quite as bad, and touch wood, this harks back to the 10 in a row season where it all just imploded. I don't know what's happened to this Celtic team. There was no zip, no fight, and I think everybody has concentrated on how bad Celtic were, but Dundee absolutely slaughtered Celtic.
Yeah.
We talked about it, Des. It doesn't need to be Pep Guardiola to realise that Dundee were going to play a 9-1 system, or a 4-4-4-1 system. We knew that was coming, but they didn't seem to have a way around it. They played it the same all the time, but there was no fight, there was no speed. But when you saw it again with Dundee, when they broke up play, how quick did they get up into the box? It was brilliant to watch, absolutely brilliant. And I still think that way back, Celtic should have signed Simon Murray.
Yep. That's exactly.
I think him and Gogic are my two favourite players in the Premier League. They should have signed Simon Murray.
That's what Celtic are missing. But they had Kyogo, who they always used to use, and when Ange had him, perfect for their style. Last year, when they bring in Adamida, who was meant to be this physical force up front, and really wasn't, and Norwich get the best deal in the world, getting £9 million in for him. The team just looked bereft of ideas. They look cumbersome. They just didn't come off of them at all.
But overall, good result for Dundee. Obviously, Celtic 5 points behind Hearts, who we'll get into later on. We'll go to Ibrox next. Rangers 2, Dundee United 2. I watched this game live. No major incidents. I didn't think there was anything bad. The only wee criticism again, Des, was just at times, and I know you are both very kind of the opinion that Don's the best referee. I think he's very slow at times. I think he slows games down a lot, and I've noticed that again. He didn't have any bad decisions. It was just at times I was like, you're slowing that down just for the sake of it, and it just breaks the play up. Is that just a criticism of mine, or is that something that's...
No, I think it's just it's a different viewpoint. Don't know what happened there. It's a different viewpoint. I can see why Don did it, because in the, especially what was happening yesterday with the culmination of the week the Rangers have had leading up to that, it could quite easily have boiled over. It could have gone nuts just because of what had been happening. So I think he was deliberately keeping it in check. So I no criticism of how he handled it, but I can see your point of view, because you wouldn't be thinking of the ref inside of it. You're thinking of the football.
Well, what I was thinking was, at this point Rangers are 1-0 up, and again I'm probably watching it from a different viewpoint to a lot of other people, but it's books 4 Dundee United players in the space of 10 minutes, and I'm thinking that even with Dundee United, all 4 of them, I'm like, that they're not yellow card defences. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not like they were on like the third, fourth foul. It was just like, I didn't see any cynical challenges. I didn't see anything of like, no, I just thought, is that actually is the game flowing right here? And there's a need to boot 4 Dundee United players in a row. But that was the only real criticism. But there wasn't anything of note, Des, in the game, to be honest.
No, when I watched I didn't see the game. I didn't see the 90 minutes. I just watched the sports scene highlights. I know we also had our discussion back and forth. I didn't really think there was I put down nothing to discuss. Steve said that may have just been Don's feel for the game that day, that it was maybe just, let's take the sting out of it, let's just slow it down, let's just make sure nothing gets out of control. I've seen Don have games where he's flew through it, sped through the game, so he maybe just felt that was the right model to adopt for that match.
It's maybe just me being cynical, and maybe just the game it was on, maybe just me looking for excuses for a 6 Rangers draw in 8 league games.
The only thing I've written down is why do players take their top off?
Oh, stupid.
Well, that was the thing, like, again, that was the only one that was, especially when it's one, especially when it's an equaliser. I get later on when we talk about the Aberdeen one, where a rush of blood when you're scoring a 96-minute winner, and what a goal it was, by the way.
Aye.
Yeah.
That's like one of mine.
The Dundee United one's a bit different, where it's like an equaliser. I know it's at Ibrox, but it was just to be a bit needless. But yeah, I mean, overall, again, Rangers have got their problems to seek, as we know. As we're recording this, Rangers have a new head coach, by the way. Danny Rowe has been appointed. But overall, again, Rangers don't have troubles to seek. Dundee United are a very old school Jim Goodwin side, aren't they? They're just hard to beat.
Stuffy, very stuffy.
Yeah, 2 really good goals they scored as well. Couple of incidents in the next few games we'll talk about. We'll start with Hibs 4, Livingston 0. The only kind of bone of contention, Hibs had a penalty to make it 2-0. The boy Klidgey, who I thought was really good, was brought down by Montano. I thought a clear shot pull given by the referee and scored by McGrath. Des, any complaints?
No complaints with that. I think it was plain and obvious. That was as clear and obvious shot pull as you're going to get. There was no dispute on it. And you say the wee guy that was up front was excellent, and McGrath. I think McGrath's a fantastic player. I'm really surprised that none of the big 2 went for him.
Yeah.
And I'm talking Celtic and Hearts.
Yeah, good one. Yeah, Hearts are flying, to be fair. But yeah,
Hearts are brilliant.
Steve, I don't think there was any issue with this. I thought it was a clear penalty.
Oh, no. Every day of the week. Yeah, no arguments.
The next one's probably the one that will take away most of all from this. We had Motherwell 1, Falkirk 2. Again, Motherwell, who...
Well, we go back to the Hibs Livingston. And this is more...
technical.
More technical.
Yeah, on you go.
First thing, and it was all to do with the penalty. When you played it, and nobody said a thing, and it just shows you that refs look at things differently. That penalty shouldn't have stood.
Okay.
There was 2 Hibs players encroaching, quite dramatically encroaching. They were almost at the penalty spot, and nobody said anything. That penalty should have been retaken. You don't caution anybody anymore, but that should have been retaken. So that penalty shouldn't have stood. And another thing, even more technical, when you looked at it, the ref and the lino were
almost parallel,
looking straight at each other. They were in line with each other. Who's watching for the encroachment? Who's watching for the goal line? And more worrying.
You're stealing this for me.
Right, do you want to go with that bit then?
If you want.
Right, you go with that bit.
What we said with the 2 guys looking at each other, the first thing that I thought was, who then decides whether the entire ball has crossed the goal line? Because traditionally, the assistant referee would be standing on the goal line and the penalty area to look for the ball fully over. We were told today through our current referee that that's now up to VAR, which I find astonishing because we don't have goal line technology here to use to say the ball is over the line or not. And the VAR camera angles, we've seen numerous times that they can't always decide whether the feel of the ball has crossed the line. So how's that angle getting covered?
Right. So So you're saying that VAR is to tell you a ball's over the line when we don't have goal line technology.
That's what we were told today, that VAR would take the goal line and the
encroachment.
The ball over or the goalkeeper. So the most worrying thing, apart from the fact that we don't have goal line technology, is that VAR, going by that, is playing an active part in the in-time, whatever you call it, decision making on the pitch.
But it's not there to do that.
Yeah, no. but it also can't fulfil that purpose though, because
absolutely
we don't have anything to say that
where's the camera angle coming from? Because we've all been told the camera angle hasn't been fully justifiable.
I didn't even think that. That sounds crazy.
No, you wouldn't. But that's the kind of that's with the ref side. But go watch the sports scene highlights again, and I'll recommend other people look at it.
Yeah.
Stop it. Pause it the minute the penalty's taken, and you'll see the ref and the lino in line with each other. No wonder there's getting encroachment and nobody noticing.
So here again, but here's a question coming out. Why aren't VAR, if they're looking at every single thing and they're looking at ways to disallow things, as we're of the opinion they are? Why are they not doing? What are they just completely ignoring encroachment and penalty?
There's two side things that could be. One is that they're just ignoring encroachment. But I thought VAR was there to correct factual, and we'll talk about it later, factual errors.
Yeah.
Well, I've just sent you, Scott.
It's there to correct factual errors. Or what was that?
Yeah, I see it now. Yeah.
Aye. What's he doing?
Yeah.
So he should be taking the encroachment then. Obviously, you would think.
Aye.
So would that just be a retake then? That would just be.
Yeah.
And
just a retake. And the old days, you used to caution people, but you don't do that now. You just retake it. But does it mean that they're no bothering with encroachment, or the VAR is so busy watching the line that they forget?
But if you look at that camera angle, it's still not completely accurate that you can get
over the line.
You can tell that that's over the line, and I get it's because the post is in the way, but it's not necessarily cut and dry that you can tell that if the ball's over the line or not, as we found out last season with the exact same. That was the same angle as the Raskin thing.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that I didn't even think of that, and I don't. Again, that's the thing. That's why this is really good. Like we don't. Normal punters wouldn't even notice that, and especially if I just think that's crazy. But yeah, you see it there. You do see the referee and the assistant right in front of each other.
It would make far more sense with the assistant still being on the goal line. And VAR looking for encroachment,
because that's a factual error.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. But yeah, I mean, something we've all learned in this episode. Right, let's go to Motherwell 1, Falkirk 2. This is probably the one I would say is the one that's caught a lot of attention over the weekend. Motherwell had a goal disallowed, a really well taken goal on first glance by Said, given initially by the referee, and then it was ruled out by VAR due to a foul by Said on Spencer in the build-up. It's very similar to the Chelsea against Fulham one. Remember at the start of the season?
Yeah.
Should this have been disallowed?
For me, I think the goal should have stood. Steve and I have a bit of a different opinion here. They're claiming that Said made a foul on Spencer in the build-up. For me, he's just used his body naturally. He's not created a foul. He's just defended the ball, turned the ball. There is contact. Not every contact's a foul. Not every contact is deliberate. What worried me is that Stephen McLean was standing yards from it, and he was quite happy for play to continue for that moment in time and go up there. And then he's been called across by Callum Scott from VAR, who's overruled him. Now, Stevie's vastly experienced, one of the most experienced guys, if not the most, that we still have going just now. I'm quite surprised that he took he took the VAR advice on it. But for me, I see no reason why that goal should have been chopped off.
Steve, I really thought this was harsh because similar to the one with Fulham, I don't necessarily think he's making himself. Do you know what I mean? He's giving himself an advantage. It's a lovely bit of skill, and the Falkirk players kind of in the way.
No Falkirk player claimed for it.
No.
Not one player.
Exactly.
I'm coming at it from a slightly different angle, that I could be persuaded that there was an obstruction, that there was a foul by the Motherwell player.
Okay.
But I'm perfectly happy to accept that there wasn't. So I'm not fussed what way that decision goes. Personally, I think I would have given it a foul, but that's an opinion. But once play goes on and Stevie's looked at it and happy that nothing's happened, end the discussion. The goal should stand. And I'm surprised that Stephen's done it, being as experienced. But all that's happened there is that VAR has called Stephen over and said essentially that the opinion of VAR overrules the opinion of the referee, which is nonsense. And that, sadly, and it'll be interesting to hear Wally Vision the next episode. If that, going by the revelation that VAR has taken an active part in on-field, on-time decisions, that sadly is the start of a very, very dangerous, slippery slope. Now, I don't. Again, I'll say I'm not fussed one way or the other whether the foul's given or not, but that goal should have stood because VAR had no place to interfere with that.
My thought was initially exactly what Steve said. Steve, if you look at it, Stephen McLean's got a real good view of it. I don't get though how you can look at that in real time and then look at it in front of a monitor and come to a different conclusion.
No, and
That's the
you shouldn't
bit
be.
I don't get. Like,
I
I
don't
can,
think
I
he
can
should be.
yeah, like
No.
that to me feels like a bit like we're using VAR for not necessarily what it's for, because to me, I just think that's a really good bit of skill. And one thing, again, I kind of watching the highlights and watching the way kind of Motherwell played, it just felt Motherwell, it was just so harsh in Motherwell because I thought they're a really, really exciting side. I thought they were excellent first half. And you just felt the buzz going out of them. I know they kind of score. I think they score after that, and they then have another one ruled out, which is a factual overturn because it is a handball, and that one's fine. It's just this one; it's so contentious, and I just think it's harsh. If we're given that as a foul, we're basically saying it doesn't matter if any bit of skill, if you contact anybody in the slightest, it's got to get ruled out. And I just think we saw with the Chelsea. I mean, I keep going back to this Chelsea one, but I thought that one was ridiculously harsh, and I'm the kind of
I agree with you. That one was awful, and we came on here and we said it was awful. But I'll say again, I could be persuaded either way on whether or not it was a foul. So I'm not fussed what decision gets made, but the opinion, the perfectly reasonable opinion of the referee, cannot be overturned by, and again, a perfectly reasonable opinion of the VAR. It's a VAR. It's not a clear and obvious error.
I tell you who was perturbed about it. The Motherwell players and fans and manager. They were the ones who were perturbed about it. In my opinion, quite rightly.
I don't disagree with them the slightst. We'll go to St Mirren now. Aberdeen won. Aberdeen scored a last-minute winner. I thought this game turned completely in the red card, as we'll get into. But we'll start with St Mirren did have the ball in the net. Alex Gogic, one of Steve's two favourite players, had the ball in the net with a header. Des, I'm a bit perplexed about this one, not because it's been disallowed. It's more the fact, though, that I can see if the St Mirren striker has stood in front of the goalkeeper, it's fine. The bit I don't get, though, is that how can that be encroaching the goalkeeper if the Aberdeen defenders headed the ball away?
Well, that's exactly what my take. What was it from? And that's not due to the location of where I live. I thought that, okay, there's been an impeded the Aberdeen. It didn't stop the Aberdeen player getting it away. It's then broke out to Gogic. The goalkeeper has returned to his feet. He's got a clean view. He's nothing there. I thought that almost moved on to a second phase of play, and therefore the goal should have stood. I can see why it's been brought back, because it's in the penalty area and it can happen so quickly. But see, if it wasn't given, I wouldn't have. If it wasn't, I thought it was the next phase of play. However, I can understand it by, but I wouldn't be looking to be rushing in to get the referee across for that.
That's the kind of thing I'm as well. I can see why it's been disallowed, Steve, but the thing is, for me, I don't think that encroachment stops Mitov getting the header. I don't think that completely. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that's the reason that Mitov doesn't save it, for example.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm the opinion that it was. I mean, the law can be an ass sometimes, but it was in an offside position and interfering with a player. So okay, the ball broke away, but it doesn't take away from the fact that the keeper was That was going to sound bad. That the attacker interfered with the goalkeeper. It's dead harsh, and I'd be screaming blue murder if it was my team. But that's the law.
You'd be screaming green murder.
Green and white murder. But I'm okay with that one being given, perfectly accepting that it must be. And we've all been on the receiving end of it when we've been as supporters, that would drive you mental. But the law's the law.
Okay. Let's get into the red card. Jayden Richardson was initially given a yellow for a tackle. It was overturned to red. It was ruled to be a kick out, apparently. Des, right call?
Yes, absolutely correct call. The referee was Lloyd Wilson.
Yes.
Kevin Clancy was the VAR, and Gary Hillen was the assistant VAR. Obviously, Lloyd hasn't seen it because he wouldn't have he wouldn't have counted initially the yellow card. You can't kick out. Now, I know we've seen petulant kicks from Beckham back in the World Cup, which wasn't the worst, but he's kicked out. This one, it was a wee bit naughty.
So what's he given a yellow for then if he hasn't seen it?
I think he just thinks it's a coming together, and he's maybe just flicked out his leg. But you actually see he's went with the studs in a deliberate and
Did he
dangerous
book
act.
both?
Yeah.
Yes,
I think he did.
Because it was initial pull, with the sharp
Yeah.
pull that was brought him back.
Yeah.
Richardson's went down. The referees brought both of them together. Yellow card for you, over and done with. And then when you do see it, I've got to admit, when I seen it, the first replay, I was thinking, I hope this goes to VAR. I hope this gets looked at. And it was a correct call. You can't do it, and it's silly because it was needless. And he's now someone are going to be a player down for the next couple of games.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, I think the thing as well is that I think the game did change on this red card because I think it just completely. I think St Mirren were probably on the ascendancy, and then Aberdeen just got a new lease of life after this. Are you of the opinion it was a red card? It was a right call?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. For all the reasons that Des said. Stupid.
Yeah. Okay. Big result for Aberdeen obviously brings them up into 10th place out of the relegation zone as well. St Mirren are not necessarily too bad. They're sitting on 9 points for 8 games. I'd say they're probably fairly content with that. Let's go to the league leaders Hearts, who I think put in another statement victory, a 3-0 away win at Kilmarnock on Saturday night. This was a game I went looking for stuff. The only thing I could find was a possible penalty claim for Kilmarnock in the first half. Wasn't given. Des, I don't think it nor should it have been.
No, I don't think it should have been. I know I was getting some texts from a couple of Kilmarnock fans.
I had a few,
saying that they thought Ross was maybe being a bit harsh at occasions. I didn't think it was the worst. I thought there was a couple of guys been maybe quite lenient a couple of times, but Kilmarnock I wouldn't say that was their best performance this season, but to go and beat Kilmarnock 3-0 at home with all the pressure that was going around Derek McInnes, that was a really good performance. So yeah, nothing really to talk about.
Yeah, there's Steve, one of those where Hearts were impressive. I just felt as well Kilmarnock were a bit wasteful at times, but the way Hearts just put them to the sword in the second half, particularly the boy Braga, it's more one of those you look and think everything's positive, but what a test for Hearts next week. That game that's going to be the game of the season so far. I think next Sunday, Hearts Celtic at Tynecastle.
Oh, aye, yeah, no, that'll be a good one, and depending what way it goes, whoever comes out on top of that one, I think they could be off and running, and I don't think anybody could have predicted where Hearts were. And I know some people are starting to look towards the end of the season. I don't think, and this is nothing against Hearts, I don't think Hearts will win the league. But then nobody thought Leicester would win the league. But next week could go a long way to deciding what happens.
If Hearts win, they go 8 points clear.
Yeah. And I remember very specifically this time last season people saying the same thing about Aberdeen. And I remember very specifically we played Celtic in the Cup semi-final and they got absolutely annihilated and they didn't recover from it. I'm not saying that's going to happen to Hearts, but if they win next week, I'll come on here and I'll do the various other podcasts I do, and I'll give them a chance at the title. I just need to see. I think they need something next week before I can definitely say, because I've been down this road before. It's a very difficult thing, and I would love to see a challenge. I can see it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I remember Hearts having a challenge years ago, and they just ran out of steam. You remember the stuff with Bully and things like that. I'd say it's probably Hearts' best side since then.
I think what the difference this year, apart from what we see now, I think the depth of squad Hearts have got this year is far better than the depth of squad Aberdeen had last year. I think it was somebody commented that when Derek McInnes looks to his bench now, he's got 5 guys there that can influence the game. And apparently the best of the rest, the best signing he's had this summer, the Brazilian boy, apparently he's the best signing, and he's injured. He's not actually played a game yet. So if he's better than Braga, then I'm looking forward to seeing him.
Yeah, I think absolutely. But yeah, I mean, very good weekend. We had something out in the Liverpool Man United game, and I thought I didn't even know you put this out until I'd seen it. Completely agree with it. Liverpool Man United, there was a possible handball check. I think was it who put it out, Des?
That was me, yeah.
Yeah. It would have taken 10 minutes up here. But I thought overall a decent weekend. I think next weekend looks pretty good, and we will be back as usual next weekend. 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday. Then we've got a midweek feast to look forward to after that. With 6 games on the 29th of October. Maybe do a special that week, maybe do a...
Well, remember I'm away, so you'll be flying without me.
With the 2-man show. But yeah, will you away next weekend?
I wait to Lithuania.
Okay. Well, you said June holidays were finished this year.
Lithuania holiday? Is that a holiday destination?
Aye.
Is it?
Aye. History and all that.
Listen, he lives in Cumbernauld. That's a holiday for him.
But we will.
Fair point.
We will be back next weekend. It'll probably just be myself and Des. Guys, thank you very much. Thoroughly enjoyed that as always.
Yep.
As always.
Right. Thank you very much. We'll see you all soon.
Right. Cheers.
Cheers.